The immune system is the body's primary form of defense against invaders such as viruses and bacteria. So therefore, making sure that it has the necessary tools to ensure that it's functioning optimally is of utmost importance. And to chat to us today more about how antioxidants such as glutathione can assist in keeping it healthy is our very own Dr. Paolo. Welcome back. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Now, Paolo, antioxidants and free radicals are words that have become very familiar in sort of modern discourse. Let's just go back to the beginning and understand what exactly they are.
All right, so a free radical, to put it simply, imagine a molecule has a very simple structure and it has electrons going around in different orbits. So a free radical has one electron that is not paired.
Right.
Electrons are supposed to be paired. So it makes it unstable. In a sense, it knocks into other molecules, attempting to steal an electron to stabilize itself.
Okay.
When it does that, it creates another free radical. So it's a never-ending chain, and if that continues in a cell, for example, it eventually destroys the cell.
Right.
So that's a free
basically
radical.
Breaking down the cell from the inside.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Antioxidants are substances that sacrifice an electron, so they donate an electron to the unstable free radical without becoming free radicals themselves.
Okay.
If there are more free radicals than antioxidants, okay, then we speak of oxidative stress. So that the cell, as the simplest form, is now under oxidative stress. And free radicals can generated by the body's normal metabolism. They can come from the outside, obviously, from our environment as well, from foods that we eat. So that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, Dr. Paolo, the American Chemical Society Journal of Infectious Diseases published an article in May last year which was entitled "Endogenous Deficiency of Glutathione as the Most Likely Cause of Serious Manifestations and Death in COVID-19 Patients." Now, it's a mouthful, and we know that there are comorbidities with COVID-19, but let's explain that sort of article.
So you'll help me if I forget some of the words. So endogenous deficiency of glutathione. So endogenous means that something's made within the body, so
right.
Manufactured, produced within the body. A deficiency obviously is when there isn't enough of whatever we're talking about. Glutathione is probably the body's most potent antioxidant.
Right.
It is made from 3 amino acids, okay? It has a very large number of functions. For example, it's involved in phase 2 detoxification in the liver, so it's crucial for the liver's detoxification processes. It's involved in mitochondrial function, also involved in cellular progression and the death, the programmed cell of deaths, the programmed death of cells.
Yes.
Of course, it is also involved in the immune system, specifically in viral defense. So it has a whole lot of functions. And then you speak about serious manifestations of COVID-19. Well, that would be when there is obviously an elevated or very increased level of viral multiplication, which obviously leads to a greater amount of damage to the lungs. That increases the inflammatory response. You can get hyperinflammation. We've mentioned it before. We call it a cytokine storm.
Yes, yes.
And that, of course, can lead to multi-organ failure.
Okay, so this is where we're talking about the necessity of these antioxidants
Correct.
to sort of quell that cytokine storm.
Correct. So basically what they're saying is that they've measured the glutathione levels in patients with severe manifestations of COVID-19, and they found that those levels were on their knees, so to speak.
Right, so they are deficient. So then in terms of lifestyle factors, what would be the factors that would impact deficiency in glutathione?
Well, anything that increases the demand or anything that reduces the production within the body, or if you were to get it from the outside, you're not receiving it. So chronic conditions, so the classic chronic conditions would be diabetes, all neurodegeneration, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, cancers, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune conditions. So all of those drain the pool of glutathione.
Okay, so it's not like you don't necessarily have enough, but that's being used up all the time.
Well, you don't have enough at any stage.
Not to sustain.
Yes. So then if you contract COVID-19, the problem is compounded now.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So the chronic diseases play a role. Obviously, your diet plays a role, or what it is that you eat. Your environment plays a major role, what you are exposed to. So pollution, for example, industrial solvents, pesticides, even common drugs, paracetamol.
Right.
People that take paracetamol on a daily basis are consuming their stores of glutathione at an increased rate. Okay. So anything that increases free radicals in the body. So emotional stress, for example. Yes. Emotional stress leads to the production of cortisol by the adrenal glands, and that will lead to the production of free radicals.
Right. Now, Doc, you mentioned that glutathione is not, it's made in the body, but it's made up of component amino acids.
Yes.
So what are the sources of those component amino acids that will ensure that you're getting enough glutathione?
Right. So fresh fruit and vegetables, basic, and then freshly prepared animal products, meat, fish, or chicken.
Right.
The thing to remember is freshly prepared. So
As
anything
in not
that's processed, yes.
Right.
If it's processed, glutathione is literally dissolved.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
to put it simply. So it's got to be fresh. People that drink a lot of tea and coffee, for example, there's a threshold at which the amount of coffee and tea that you drink will also begin to break down your glutathione.
Okay.
That threshold will differ from person to person, obviously.
Yes, yes. Then, Doc, in terms of glutathione levels, so these would probably, I assume, vary during the day.
Correct,
Is
they
it,
do.
do you have more at certain times of the day, and how does that
Yes.
system work?
Keep in mind what I said earlier, one of the main functions is the detoxification function in the liver. Now, most of that takes place while you sleep.
Yes, right.
So when you wake up early in the morning, that's your lowest levels. The first part of the morning, perhaps until midday. So if anyone supplements, they should supplement in the morning. And if you are concentrated on eating foods that will help a body make glutathione, again, it should be in the morning.
Right, right. And then is there a sort of an age-related link to the amount of glutathione
Yes,
that you have?
yes. So somewhere around 45 to 50, your levels start dropping. It may have to do with the ability of your body to put things together. It's also got to do, remember, you spoke about 3 amino acids. There are about 21 amino acids. And the body needs to draw from the storeroom for thousands of different formulations.
Right, yes.
Thousands of different proteins that need to be put together. And so at about that age, that ability starts diminishing, and the reduction of glutathione increases with the aging process, and that is in keeping with the appearance of chronic diseases. That's when they start arriving.
Yes, true, as people age.
So it's a major player in the development. We call it the pathogenesis, the development of chronic diseases.
Okay. Then let's go back to the viral discussion. I mean, we're talking about the impact on COVID-19. What is the role of glutathione in viral sort of defense, if we can call it?
All right. So all viruses, all main 3 types of viruses, including the RNA virus, they induce oxidative stress within a cell.
Okay.
So they cause the cell to produce free radicals. The infection causes that. The oxidation state of the cell, we call it redox state of the cell. And the virus replication within the cell depends on that redox state. So if there is oxidative stress, then the virus can replicate better.
Okay.
For the physiology nerds, within the cell there is something known as, there are chemical bonds called disulfide bonds, which under normal conditions are broken apart for many purposes. But if oxidative stress is high, they remain bonded.
Okay.
The spike of the SARS-CoV-2 virus requires this disulfide bond connection in order to penetrate the cell.
Okay, so it's more at risk of
Yes.
invasion, essentially.
Yes, yes.
Right, right.
But getting back to glutathione itself, prior to the COVID-19 era, a lot of research has gone into it, and we know that in clinical trials, glutathione inhibits the replication of HIV virus, of the influenza A virus. It inhibits or reduces the viral load, which in turn will reduce the inflammation, therefore creating a better environment so that there is no cytokine storm, for example. It also reduces the activation of von Willebrand factor. That is a coagulation factor. And if this is activated, it leads to increased coagulation, so clotting.
Well, let's move on then. In terms of, we talk about supplementing to bring this all down and to have more glutathione in the body. Is it a straightforward process, supplementing of glutathione, or there's some sort of tricks to it to get it?
There's always been a challenge, and the challenge is that glutathione is made of 3 amino acids. And cysteine, glycine, and glutamate are the amino acids. And in the early trials, especially when glutathione was given to the patient in its formed aspect, through the digestive process would break it up into its constituent forms, yes. Right. And then basically it's a lottery. Will your body put it together or not? Or will your body use the cysteine somewhere else? So basically you'd end up never getting the glutathione that you put in. So that was one of the challenges. So if the absorption was a challenge, then obviously getting it into the cell would become a bigger challenge.
Well, thank you so much. Some great insights there as usual.
Thank you.